The first skyscrapers and planes were created by the end of the 19th century. This became possible largely due to new materials, extra strong steel and aluminium. Later, scientists and engineers created even lighter and stronger materials, composites. In the 70s, chemical engineers from many different countries, including the USSR, were busy developing these materials. This new industry has already taken shape in the West, but in Russia, it is only starting out, leaning primarily on Soviet-era enterprises. The team of the Composite Holding Company has an important part in the process. Startups are often founded by the authors of technological ideas. However, with the composite, it was different. Many were surprised that a startup in the field of material science was headed by the famous Russian businessman and manager Leonid Melamed, who was previously involved in investment activities and had served as CEO in multiple public companies.
We want to make money and learn new things. And we decided that this should be fun and entertaining, and that it would be a challenge for us all. This would be something new. So we decided to focus on technological innovations. Besides, many of us have been involved with science in the past.
Composite materials consist of two components with boundary phases between them. They form a frame to which a hardening component is applied. This component protects the frame from mechanical and chemical impact.
Even in the Old Testament, we read about slaves making bricks, and when they ran out of straw, their reinforcement material, they complained to the Pharaoh.
One of the most popular composite material is carbon fiber. The most common consists of bound graphite fibers filled with epoxy resin. Engineers have long had high hopes for these materials.
We understand that the days of steel as a construction material are numbered. The only question is, when will the last composite nail be hammered into the lid of its coffin? The old materials won't be used anymore. The consequences of such a technological revolution are comparable with what happened after the invention of the personal computer.
The best bikes and rods, light and durable, are made of composites. The market for such materials is growing at 6% per year, and just the European market is estimated at 7 billion euros.
We're fishing for a big fish with plastic rods that are 12 feet long and weighing about a kilo. A rod made of any other material, like dural or titanium, we'd have to raise with a lifting winch.
This is true despite the extreme caution the aviation and automobile industries exercise when choosing new materials. They choose very carefully and base their choice on reliable and cost-effective solutions.
Yes, we knew that we'd start with a carbon as the most high-end product.
However, composite started not like the majority of technological companies, which usually begin pilot production in small laboratories. Composite took the plunge, starting mass production straight away.
Any new product is conceived as a niche product, when demand is still relatively small. The industry demands capital. It requires expensive equipment, and it takes a long time to build up the new material's sales. In order for the material to have a competitive price, it needs to be produced on a large scale. And a large scale means serious funding. But demand is still limited.
In Russia, such a risky enterprise could hope for help only from the state. The company applied with a proposal of cooperation to Rosnano, Rosatom, and Russian Technologies. The company managed to make agreements with two companies. As a result, Rosnano invested in the material production, and Rosatom agreed to lend the holding part of its facilities. The holding, in its turn, committed itself to the development and modernization of the enterprises obtained from Rosatom.
You see, the state is actually real live people. So if you're going to enjoy state support, you need to understand who's supporting you and how. you should have a pretty good idea as to whether you can have a constructive dialogue with the state representative or not.
The holding combines production facilities of both polymer fibers, extracting fiber carbon from them, and the production of prepregs, billets for specific composite details. So the company has nearly the entire production cycle going. In business, this model is called vertical integration. Vertical integration, the organization of a business based on the merging of different stages of production, starting as a rule with primary production and ending with the manufacturing of end products. One advantage of vertical integration is the production speed, thanks to the optimization of processes and a greater independence from the environment. The necessity to master new kinds of businesses and fewer potential suppliers are the disadvantages of the model. Initially, the production of the end products wasn't in the holding's plans. Each production unit requires its own terms of production and special calculations. It makes more sense for the manufacturers of the end products to cover this stage. But things didn't turn out as planned. In 2011, instead of the planned 50 tons of materials, Composite sold only 11.
Many of our potential customers say things like, yes, we do see that in the West and in developed countries, the share of products competing with ours is made of composite materials, and we don't know what to do with them.
The holding was forced to produce not only materials but also products made of them. For this, it was necessary to find composite materials experts.
We sincerely believed that if we invited the best scientists, we would be able to be competitive in the field of technology development and carbon fiber production. But we're sorry to say that we couldn't find enough people who were capable of advancing the technology even to get a little bit closer to European, American, and Japanese standards.
The problem is that in Russia the industry is virtually non-existent. A raw specialist can't be taught because there's nobody to teach him. So professionals need to be brought in from the US or Western Europe, which for Russian technological companies is an unreachable goal. But the company did manage to find qualified people on the labor market of Eastern Europe and Asia.
We need people with experience and with a special education. Europe has these people. There are several major centers for training both bachelors and doctors in this field, and these are both educational and scientific centers.
The holding managed to attract Peter Molnar, a Hungarian engineer. He approved the Russian startups' Western standards. The company encourages participation in international exhibitions and conferences, and the CEOs are always there for the employees.
Actually, I just found very interesting this company. It is a new company with a very good, very strong financial background. And there are a lot of, basically therefore, because it's a new company, there is a lot of development possibilities.
But Peter still sees some typical Russian problems interfering with the work of the young company.
Basically nothing in the company. The 3 points, I think so, in Russia, the traffic, the bureaucracy, and maybe that only few people speak foreign languages.
In August 2011, the holding entered a new stage. Composite products passed certification and began being sold to aircraft manufacturers.
Of course, our greatest success is creating a technology for production of prepregs for the aviation industry from scratch and in just a year and a half, and passing a large number of tests to prove our material usable. This certification can take up to 3 to 5 years. We did it in just 1.5 years.
Aircraft industries are currently the main customer of the composite industry. In 2009, the Boeing 787, built mostly of composite materials, performed the first commercial flight. Thanks to its lightweight materials, it consumes 20% less fuel than other non-composite airplanes of the same size. However, Russian aircraft industry is not able to create such a level of demand.
Aviation isn't enough to drive the composite industry because the demand is too small, but it will help us to keep our production quality at a high level. We'll maintain the quality demanded by the aviation industry. We believe that in Russia, composite materials will be in great demand within the construction industry.
Нанесение армирующих композиционных материалов на несущие
Applying composite materials on the bearing structures for strengthening turned out to be very effective, and the cost is several times lower than that of the traditional repair. However, some customers willing to master budgets prefer to spend a lot of money on repair works than to apply new technologies. Others are simply afraid of them.
We have to act not only as the manufacturers of the new materials and products made of them, but somehow as evangelicals, preaching about all the properties and benefits and characteristics of this new material.
Nuclear industry companies were very glad to get the opportunity to use composite materials. The technological process and the number of enterprises cannot be stopped, and even a brief disassembling of the construction can break all production plants or damage equipment. The holding services in these cases turned out to be invaluable. Reconstruction of strategically important bridges also requires conducting works without stopping traffic. The holding promotes innovation in other industries as well.
Recently, we had a high-level meeting at the United Shipbuilding Corporation, where we promoted our materials. Composites could be used in the construction of ships, primarily of gross tonnage. We're interested in the automobile industry. We've already concluded contracts with Kamaz.
It is planned to open an engineering center in the nearest future. It will enable to use modern equipment, take opinions, and undergo training.
Of course, I've no doubt that with the technologies we're developing, we'll remain the leaders here in Russia for a long time. But in the international market, we expect acute competitive struggles. We've got faith, but we haven't got confidence.
Now the company's plans are set for 5 years. The holding is going to enter the top 10 major world players of the composite market and increase annual sales up to $1 billion.
We understand that resources will only become more expensive. The production of steel is fairly energy-consuming, and the price for steel will grow constantly. 20 years ago, steel cost about $200 a ton, and now it's already $1,000 a ton. While production, growth, and perfection of technologies will only reduce the cost of polymer-based composite materials.
If the leading Russian companies in the real economy sector will continue to develop intensively, that would be much easier to turn these plans into being.